Joel Cummins.
Welcome back to All That Jam, where music has no limits. We are joined again by Joel Cummins from Umphrey's McGee. Third time, you're now a lifer. How we doing, Joel?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back. Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. I just wanted to thank you publicly. Night before my birthday, you had me come out, and I got to catch you guys earlier this year. That was fantastic, and thank you for that. But
Well,
big weekend for you. You did a new thing, Top Notes Sessions. Why don't we get into that? Maybe explain a little bit about what the thinking behind it was and what happened.
absolutely. I would say our Top Note Sessions was kind of inspired by what we did back in 2020. We were recording our album "Asking for a Friend" in Chicago, and kind of set up in the round in our warehouse where all of our gear typically lived, and we wanted to get some recording done, but we also wanted to figure out if there was a way where we could do something to pay for everything. So we decided to do some webcasts that during the night, and this was kind of a similar format. So we showed up at 11 in the morning and did some recording until about 5:30 or 6 at night, and then took a break, and then did a live webcast for people around the world. And also this time was different than the 2020 edition because we had 100 fans each night that we invited on the lottery system to buy a ticket, and everybody was on headphones, so we did not have a PA. And this was a little bit of a twist. And if you follow Umphrey's McGee, you know that we have these headphone offerings that we've done at our concerts before to kind of people that really want to get a more in-depth, detailed audio experience can do that. So this was a little bit inspired by that and kind of a twist on that, but something new and unique. And it was in this place called the Top Note Theater, which is above. A lot of people know the Metro in Chicago. It's a pretty famous, about 1,100 or 1,200 person club. And I didn't even know this place existed until 3 months ago when this idea came up. And it's basically like a little rehearsal soundstage for artists to go up there and work. And we were told the Strokes used it a few years ago before their tour. But we were also told that we were much nicer than the Strokes, so they were happy to have us. But I think the most famous thing that's probably happened there is I want to say it was summer of 1989 or summer of 1990. Guns N' Roses used the space. They all stayed nearby with the exception of Axl, who was apparently staying in Lafayette, Indiana, with relatives and friends. And the band worked on and recorded a demo of November Rain in that space.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which exists. You can find that. It's out there lurking. I've heard it before. That's neat.
Yeah.
Oh, was it weird seeing the people dancing with the headphones on?
Oh, so it was seated. It was a seated room. Yeah. So I wasn't sure if people were going to stand up or stay seated, but everyone decided to kind of be chill about it. And toward the end of each night, some people went in the back and were moving around a little bit more. But yeah, it was kind of this intimate, giving the fans a little bit of a view of what our setup was like when we were recording. And of course we also did record the performances as well.
Right, you can find them on Nugs.
Yeah. Yep. Video and audio.
So you that was. Did you do any new tunes with what you played, or was everything that was being recorded? Has any of that been heard live? I guess maybe is the real question.
Yes. So I don't want to give away too much of it, but the things that we recorded are all things that we've played live at least once.
Okay.
But I don't think any of these that we recorded we've played more. Well, there might be one that we've played more than 15 times, but everything else, we've only played about, like under 5 times live. So these are all relatively new songs. Yeah.
That's so cool. I saw mentioned somewhere Wide Open, I think was maybe on the first night. I know people were excited for that. Yeah. So how did you all choose what you were going to play? Was there something that you did differently because of the venue and what you were doing? Was that a conscious decision to do something like that?
We really wanted to find a space that just sounded good to us, and I think as far as the song choices for the live performance, it was really just things that we wanted to play, and things. There was definitely something to the, this is going to sound good in this room sort of vibe. Our front of house engineer. Our new front of house engineer, Chris Erickson, was we affectionately have called him Coach, because when he joined the crew, he became the third Chris. So yeah. So to avoid some confusion, yeah, his name's Coach now. So so Coach was actually down in the main room of the Metro with all of his gear, doing the with the soundboard and doing the recording and stuff, because the room was, just wasn't the kind of space where you could have that up there. And so he made a few suggestions to us about the types of things that he thought were sounding good and types of things that he thought might not work as well. I will say that things that were louder and kind of more aggressive, those were the things that we kind of tried to avoid in that setting, which kind of is logical. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I know that, Kevin, you have a couple of things you want to get into, but what you were just saying made me think bigger picture. You all are the most creative band in terms of trying new things. And I think, to me, the fan experience is always at the forefront, and making things feel participatory and just giving fans different experiences, which happens, a lot. UM there's so many things. Is there something within the makeup of the band itself that kind of creates those kind of, I guess, ideas? Because I just see you all always kind of pushing to try something different, and it is really unique to me. I'm just wondering, how does that happen? Does somebody bring an idea forward and then you all agree, or are you always thinking of what else could we be doing?
Is there a whiteboard?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
I think I think we're always kind of thinking, what can we do, something that's different, and it's very easy to for us at this point to go out and to just play a regular show, which is fun, and we obviously still love doing that, but I think that trying to keep our fan base engaged, and also trying to make some new fans, and have people discover us and say, wow, that was something different, I've never experienced that before. Having a few of those things happen a year is really important to us, and Umble is obviously something that is we created. I think our first one was maybe 14 years ago now, or 13 years ago. So, that's something that has really lived on and has continued to evolve as we've done them. The most recent one that we just did this past year, we had, and for those of you watching who don't know, the general idea of our Umble is that it's a kind of a fan-directed, fan-curated event where the ticket holders, and this last year we opened it up to anybody, are allowed to vote on things. 2 of the quarters will be voting for things in advance that we then prepare, and 2 of the quarters are things that people are voting on in real time live at the event, and we're kind of improvising and doing things based on that. So so that that's something that that we've continued to want to do. And last year we did something where we had fans vote on scenes from movies that they liked, and then we improvised to those. And so that was something that was new for us and seemed to be really enjoyable for the people that were there. So I'm guessing, that's something that we'll try to revisit in one form or another. But yeah, I think, we've been a band for 27 years, and the worst thing that could happen is that we kind of get, bored or complacent with what we're doing. So I think a lot of this is also to just kind of keep us on our toes and keep things fresh for us.
So what happens to you if people don't remember? You had to move Bowl because of Chris. It ended
Right.
up being, what was it, April this year that it
It
happened?
was April of 2024. Yeah, it
Right,
was going to be Halloween weekend.
right.
And so originally we had planned to improvise and just use horror films. That was the
It's all
original
massacre,
idea.
little
And then
massacre.
yeah, and then once it moved to April, we thought, well, let's open it up to other things as well, and we can have a couple kind of horror things. But it really, I think that kind of gave us the ability to do a lot of more variety musically, as opposed to just doing it for horror films.
Good
So
thing you didn't.
I think for the next Stumble, we'll have another kind of cool twist in that vein.
Good thing you didn't do all Easter movies since it was in April. Ten Commandments.
Different vibe.
So what does it get moved to next year? Because obviously you can't do, is it going to be in April, or are you going to try to go back to the Halloween?
It is going to be in April, and you'll probably see some news about that in the next few weeks.
Right. You have another big show, another it's a destination thing. Most bands go to Mexico. You guys are going to Morocco. How did that come about? I love this. I just love it.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a good tie-in to what we were just talking about here, which is that nobody in our scene has really done anything big like this in Africa or Morocco. And I visited in 2014 with my family. This was pre-kids, so it was a little easier to travel back then. But it's a place with a very vibrant culture, and music is certainly a big part of that over there. And I think Morocco is also one of those places where a lot of people kind of think, oh, that would be a nice place to go, and maybe they're looking for a reason to. And our promoters for this are Sixth Man, and those guys are the ones who did our Iceland event. So it was supposed to be in 2020 originally, and we finally pulled it off in 2022. But we were also kind of the first band from our scene to do an event in Iceland as well. So we're always looking for someplace fun and interesting that we think our fans will want to go and have an adventure with us as well.
Right. Are your eyes on any musicians from there that you want to try to bring up with you guys? Like when the Dead played the Pyramids, they had all those people come out.
Yeah. We have a few folks over there that are helping us get some local people that are going to join in with us too. I think that's an important thing to kind of bridge that. We're not just coming here and doing our thing and not really integrating. So
those instrumentation totally would work with some of what you guys do, because you guys are outside the box a little bit. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we have so many different sounds that it's nice to be able to have something for anybody, whether it's Josh Redman playing with us, or Huey Lewis, or in this case some musicians from Morocco. So
I'm just curious, are there any cultural considerations that are in play with something like that? And I'm asking this because I know of bands that have played in similar parts of the world, and let's say they had to start shows much later than normal because that's kind of what would be typical there. Anything interesting that has come about in your planning for this?
Nothing that has jumped out at me as far as that goes. And, for the most part, these are fans from the States and from Europe
Mhm.
that are
Okay.
joining us there. So um, I think though that our site is kind of it's in a little bit of it's not right in the Medina, it's not right in the city itself.
Mhm.
So we have a little more flexibility with what we can do
Mhm.
timing wise and how the shows will go. So I'm not sure what the exact timing of that will be, but I do know that it's in April, which is typically one of the nicer months over there, where
Mhm.
you're going to have the average days are like highs kind of in the mid to upper 70s and lows in the upper 50s. So it should be a pretty pleasant environment in which to have an outdoor show.
We have
Amazing.
packages available still, or what's the
We
how's
do.
somebody going to get on board with that?
We do, we do. So you can still join us for the Maroc show and just go to the umphreys.com website and you can still get a package there. So it is not sold out yet. It is not too late. And I mean it's 5 months away, so you've got plenty of time to plan. And the thing that people have asked me, they're like, what did you really like about Morocco? And I two things that really struck me are the general friendliness and
Mhm.
hospitality of the people there. There's kind of a daily tradition of Moroccan mint tea in the afternoon, and if you happen to be out and about during that time, and even if you're in a shop, kind of looking at stuff or talking to people, they'll sit down with you, and you have a 15 or 20-minute hang and conversation, and that Moroccan mint tea is like the most delicious tea ever. I mean, I just, I can't get over it. And the food really blew me away. I didn't really know what to expect. And they have a traditional tagine, uh,
Mhm.
Tagine, and it's this sort of ceramic bowl that has a top on it. And they typically cook whatever it is kind of together in this tagine. And I mean, the flavors and I was just absolutely blown away every time I got one of those. And they do everything from putting meats and vegetables together in there to doing vegetarian stuff.
Mhm.
So really, it's anything that you want that they would put in there, and that was something that was really cool to me. And of
Wow.
course, we went to the beach and rode camels, so we did that too.
I look at that tagine thing and I'm like, I would burn myself if I was trying to cook with one of them.
Yeah, right, right.
Well, one thing I know for sure, because I think that, as from the outside looking in, one thing that I know is going to happen is your social media for the band and just individually is one of the best. It's the most fun and authentic. I mean, it's obvious that you all use those platforms for me the best, intended use. And I know that we will be getting, besides anything that's recorded or aired, you all are going to be sharing so much of your experiences there because you do that in such a great way. Like your Thanksgiving video
Yeah.
was another phenomenal one. Brendan's impression, I think, stands a test of time. But having your family in there, it's such a for me a wonderful way to feel connected. So first, thank you for doing that. But I can't wait to see what you all put out there.
Yeah, we're looking for the documentary afterward.
Ooh, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, the big thing for us with social media, obviously, there's a lot of information that we want to provide with
Mhm.
people, but we've always been about trying to use technology to enrich like the more human side and the more
Mhm.
relationship side of between the band and the fans. And so that's something that I think has been consistent ever since we've had a presence on social
Mhm.
media, through all these different platforms. And um, it's really a great way to connect with fans outside of the shows. And, and people sometimes send in special requests or have, they want to share something about
Mhm.
their experiences. Um, and it's cool to be able to interact with people one on one. And, you know, I've had a few of those as a fan of other people that have happened too. So I feel like I kind of know the experience from both sides, and
Mhm.
um, it's cool that we live in this day and age where that's a possibility.
And it's so important to have the point of view of the other side.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, no doubt.
In general. You guys, well, one more Umphrey's thing, and then we'll dive into some of the other stuff you've been doing for a minute. You guys are going into the navel of the jam band universe for New Year's for a run there, huh?
We are. We are. We've got 2 shows in Denver, and we've got 2 shows in Boulder. The, Boulder shows are sold out now. The Saturday night Denver is almost sold out, so if you're thinking about going to that, get your tickets now. And, yeah, this is, obviously a place that is near and dear to our hearts with so many shows over the years from, um, the first one at Coyotes, where Jay Bianchi offered us $100 to play a third set. We of course accepted.
Right.
Uh, to many shows at Red Rocks and
Yeah.
the Mishawaka Amphitheater we recently got back to, and now these beautiful spots, the Dillon Amphitheater in
Mhm.
Dillon and the Ford Amphitheater in Vail that we've gotten to play the past few years. So it's a place with the rich history for us, and a place that we love going and performing, and chose a few more intimate venues this year.
Mhm.
New Year's being on a Monday and a Tuesday,
Mhm.
um, that's doesn't necessarily set up for the most ideal New Year's run. Um, but I just assume most people are going to be taking off work, and it's
5-day
kind of
weekend.
yeah,
5-day
Yeah.
weekend.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, so we're excited to get back to the Boulder Theater. We've obviously played there a few times too, and
Mhm.
that'll be a really special, intimate experience. And obviously, that show sold out very quickly, so we know all those people that are there really want to be there, which makes it a
Right.
lot of fun
Yeah.
for us too.
Yeah. For
Amazing
sure.
it's been a year that Chris has been back, huh?
Yeah, yeah. This time last year we played with 17 drummers, and we were kind of gearing up for New Year's, and Chris gave the green light to do set 3 of New Year's Eve
Mhm.
with us. So it was really nice to have the band back together, and have the full catalog at our fingertips again. But all the drummers that sat in with us worked so hard, and did such a great job
Mhm.
on
Uh,
learning those tunes.
did the song that you and Ryan mentioned the last time you were on ever end up becoming a song? You said you 2
Uh,
were in the studio and Chris had
oh
come
yeah,
in and
right. So those are still in progress, and we actually have. So we just went into the studio and did a few things. With a different group of songs, and we're going back in the studio, and I don't even know if we have really decided where we're doing it yet, but we're going back in February, and we're going to work on this new batch of songs that Ryan and I were working on this time last year. So uh, so the February sessions will be all things that have never been played live before. We'll have an album of completely new material whenever that's ready. But that's what that session is going to be. So we're hitting the road hard in January and March, and then February have some time off and do some studio work together.
there you go. All right,
Yeah, so
Amanda,
that
you
that song is still in progress, but
does
yeah,
it have
we
a title? Does it have a
uh,
working title?
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember. It was something just descriptive of what key it was in. It was like
Mhm.
a harmonic E minor thing.
Right.
But we did put. I think we got like 5 basic tracks done, and then Chris went in after that and put some real drums on them. So a couple things he came in and recorded with us live, and then he went in and did some other drum stuff afterwards. So they're kind of between the demo and actual recording parts of it now. So we may end up using some of his drum tracks that he did, and then I'm guessing we'll probably re-record all of these live, and we'll have some things that we record live as a band that'll be there as well.
Fantastic. You did lots of stuff besides Umphrey's this year. You did a Jazz Fest show, did a show out there in California where you live, recently down St. John's. Want to talk a little bit? I guess they're all different. You set these shows up where you do a couple solo songs in the set and then have a band come out. Is that the theory behind it?
Yeah, that's the general idea. And I just remembered one more that I did too. I did one in Steamboat Springs. I had a ski trip planned there with the family and a bunch of our friends, and we rented a house with there were like 30 people that came through in a week. And we've done this ski trip for I think 5 years in a row now, but we've never done it in a place that had like a real music room where I could do something. And so Schmiggity's was cool enough to have me out there, and I had Tanner from Eminence Ensemble and a couple of the other guys from Eminence Ensemble, Dylan and Zach came out too, and they learned a few Umphrey's tunes. And so we did. It was like probably the closest to an Umphrey show of a sideshow I've ever done. So I did that. Then Tanner came back down and played with me in New Orleans and had a few other guests come up and play with me there. And similar thing where I did, opened a little bit by myself, then had Tanner come out, and then generally built the band from there. And that was a ton of fun. I always do that as a co-bill with my friends Big Light, who are a San Francisco band. Fred Torfey, the lead singer, that has been a good friend of ours for a long, long time. So
right. 2 years ago, you played with Ben, right?
That's right. Ben actually did it with me 2 years ago. And so that's always just kind of a fun thing. My wife works in the music business, and Jazz Fest is one of her gigs. So she's got a place to stay for 10 days or 12 days. So I always try to get down there and, get a little 5 or 6 days off to just go eat food and go watch music and, play one show. But I don't, it's one of those where I'm like, I want to go experience more. I don't need to be the center of attention for that one. I did one at the Penmar, which is our local golf course restaurant here. If you guys remember where when Harrison Ford crashed his plane about 10 years ago, that was on this golf course right here. So my neighbor,
snack.
my neighbor across the street does the merch for them now, and so it's it's a plane crashing into you got the golf hole and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I love it. Own it. Might as well, right?
Yep, totally. But it's this crazy scene, and every Friday night they have live music, and there are like 2,000 to 3,000 people that come out. It's really wild. It doesn't really matter who's playing. It's just, and it's like all ages, families, kind of like the mid-20s scene people that live in Venice here. Yeah. So that's always a lot of fun. And that's one where I do more covers than most of my shows, just for familiarity's sake. But I've done that with Jason Hand for the past couple of years. So he and I always just try to find a date. And this year I did the very, very bold move of the only Friday that Jason, I, and the venue all had was August 9th. And that happened to be 2 days after I flew back from Ireland solo with my kids. So I had a nanny, but I was like, this could be a complete disaster. I'm like, I have a rehearsal the day before and the show, and it all went great until about loadout. And then my daughter was like, you have to come home with us. I'm like, I have all this stuff here. I have to get everyone paid. I'm like, I can't come home. Yeah. So, but it's a great time and a really cool environment. Yeah. And then I just went down to St. John actually for the second time. I forgot that I went down there and played right at the beginning of the year in January. I flew there right after New Year's, and this year wasn't going to work out for the January timeframe. So I brought it up. I said, well, how about Thanksgiving? And he said, let's do it. So it's this really cool little bar in Cruz Bay, which is kind of the main town on St. John. And it's called Livongo. And John, the owner of the bar, is really worked hard to kind of make that a centerpiece of the music scene there. And so the guys that played with me there all live on the island. They came and sat in some last year, and then we stayed in touch. And this year was able to prepare a little more, and I made them learn Help on the Way and Slipknot, and they did a pretty good job. So yeah, but John the owner is a big Dead guy, so I always try to learn a couple new Dead songs to play and sing for him.
Yeah, I saw you had posted the set list, and somebody had mentioned a power outage or something. Was there anything going on? Any stories from that?
So about an hour and a half before the second show, it was the Friday night of Thanksgiving weekend, we were setting up and the power goes out, and they're like, oh, you know, we have a generator for the building here, but it was missing these like 3 specific lug nuts or something that they're waiting for them to show up. You know, they're in the mail, but they haven't gotten here yet. So they didn't have a generator in the building. And about 20 minutes after that, we found out that it wasn't just the building that lost power. It was all of St. Thomas and St. John. So both islands completely out of power. And our resourceful drummer, Taylor Lissandrello, started making some calls and came up with 2 generators, one for all the instruments and one for the PA, and some Christmas lights to hang in the bar. And, you know, it's kind of this indoor-outdoor thing. And, you know, they have AC in there because it's pretty warm no matter what time of year you're there in St. John. So that wasn't back on, and it was certainly one of the hotter shows that I've played in the past couple of years. But
drink the beer quick too. Got to drink that beer quick with the fridges off. I guess the fridges in the bar were off.
Yeah, they had they had enough ice, so you know that's the other big thing that you need. But yeah, and people still came out. The word got out that the show was on. So
what else do they have to do?
Yeah, right. All's well that ends well. We had a good time.
Well, one year in Gentilly, outside of New Orleans on Mardi Gras, we blew out the transformer on one of the power poles by shooting Mylar in the air, and it landed across the wire. And the guy who were in the bar who we blew out, he walked down. He's like, "Y'all get in here and drink this beer before it gets warm."
Amazing, okay. Amazing. He's like, "You're going to cost me money. Now you're going to spend some money."
So what goes into the song choices when you do this? I mean, obviously it's stuff you like. I saw some Squeeze in there, right? Of course, some Steely Dan.
Yeah. I mean, it's the pretty basic requirement for me is I need to be able to play and sing it at the same time. And there are a lot of songs for which that is a huge challenge, or you can't cover enough of the parts to make it sound good, right? So during the pandemic was kind of the time when I did a lot of woodshedding, and you know, I was doing like weekly streams to try to, you know, basically just to try to keep my playing up and to also make a little money.
Keep the light on.
Yeah. And so I realized that I was like, you know, I need to start learning more songs that I can sing so that I have a little bit of a repertoire here to work on. So every sideshow that I do, I always try to add at least one more new song. And, you know, the other thing with keyboard songs is there are a million great ballads out there, but, you know, I don't want to go out there and do like a sleeper show, you know, playing all these like down tempo things. So that's the other kind of challenge, is finding things that are a little more up tempo that, you know, obviously if you can do something that's a sing along, that's a good thing too. But this time I added a song that most people know from the Garden State soundtrack by Colin Hay from Men at Work, called I Just Don't Think I'll Ever Get Over You, which has always been, I don't know why, one of my favorites. But yeah, I really like that tune, and it's a guitar vocal song. But you know, a lot of these acoustic guitar vocal things you can adapt for piano, and so, you know, so I did that. That was a lot of fun. And then the other one I did was Tom Petty's Wildflowers for the first time. Yeah.
Nice. do you like singing? You don't, I mean, you sing backups and stuff with Umphrey's, but obviously someone else handles most of the lead vocals. Do you like singing?
I do. And I grew up singing quite a bit when I was in high school. I went to a place called Lyons Township High School outside of Chicago. And our high school was like year in, year out known as one of the top, if not the top vocal public high school in the state of Illinois. And so I had this amazing experience of getting this. I mean, it was really almost like a pro level choir. You know, it reminded me of like you know, the Bad News Bears, or like, you know, it's like the teachers would take these kids, and there were always a few really good singers, but the ones who weren't that great of singers, he made into these incredible, you know, we really operated as one. And it was like we did these incredible group dynamics. And I learned so much about what it felt like to perform something well in a group and not just solo. So yeah, so I and then in college at Notre Dame, I sang in the Notre Dame Glee Club for 5 years there. And when I got there, my freshman year, they had a new director who they're like, oh yeah, he's a young guy, he's 35. And I was like, guy's not that young. I'm like, oh wow, he was young. And he had just come from Cornell and had done his dissertation on like 15th and 16th century Renaissance polyphony. So he kind of took this like rah-rah barbershop choir, and we still did that stuff, but we also did really serious music. And ironically, that was kind of what made me want to be in a band. And I don't know if that really makes sense logically at all, but it was just this, you know, we were singing like Palestrina and Josquin des Prés, these really, really amazing. I mean, I listen to this music still. Like, this is my when I'm on plane flights, it's just like, it totally calms me down, you know? So I kind of miss singing in a group. That's something, you know, obviously I have that with Umphrey's, but it's with the band as well. Mm-hmm. And so getting to be able to, you know, to work on singing lead stuff, you know, it kind of serves a couple purposes. One of them is that it strengthens my voice, and that, you know, I'm going to be a better singer with Umphrey's then too. But it also just gives me, you know, this ability to go do other shows, and to know that I can put on a show and I can play some Umphrey's tunes, and I can do some other songs that people know, and hopefully sing them well. I mean, you know, I haven't had anyone yet tell me that I should stop singing.
You're doing okay. You're doing okay.
Yeah, but I do have a really long history of being a vocalist, so I think these side things really do give me an opportunity to express that part of my my musical you know, desire, career, whatever that is.
Did you sing it all with the Rock the Pink Gala band?
Oh, I did, and I see where this is going, because one of the songs that I kept on the set list for St. John. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and my wife came back from a festival, and she had Chapel Roan on her stage, and was like, some of these are inappropriate, but some of these are we can play around the house. And so Pink Pony Club and Hot to Go are often played songs here. So that was I'm in the Pink Pony Club for Rock the Pink, and, you know, told Al and Vinny and Mark, like, let's try to do like a little more rock version of this, you know, and it's kind of in my vocal range too, so it works out well. But yeah, that one was definitely one of the more surprising covers, I'm sure, for anybody that was in the audience there. Yeah, and of course, you know, some people know it and are like singing along. Some people are like, what is this? Yeah, but yeah, that was a cool one to bust out. So I did, you know, just to reference what that was, back in October, Al Schneer called me up and invited me to do this Rock the Pink charity to raise some money for for breast cancer awareness research, all that, and the American Cancer Society. And so it was at Garcia's at the Cap in Port Chester, New York, just outside of New York City. So I did a flight out there, learned a few other Pink tunes. One of my other favorites from that, Al and I did a little duo of Pink Moon by Nick Drake, which I think might also be on that Garden State soundtrack. I think it might be on that.
It's a
Any
great
pink
sound.
houses?
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
pink houses?
What's that?
Any pink houses?
Yeah, we did do Pink Houses. Yeah. And let's see, I think Vinny sang that one, maybe.
You guys were like a super group. I mean, that's basically a super group. It was you, Al and Vinny from Mo, and Mark from the Disco Biscuits. I mean, I would love to see you guys do a little run there.
Yeah, it was cool. And, we're all friends. So it was, that was the other thing. When he asked me to do the gig and told me who was playing, I was like, oh, this sounds like fun. Yeah, let's do it.
It was loose.
And I don't get to play very much with a 4-piece either. So it was also nice to have that sort of freedom in the more improvisatory moments.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And I think part of that event, there was a silent auction. I mean, it was a really full event. And I think there was a pre-show hang of some kind also, right? For some attendees.
Yep. We did a little hang with some of the fans. And I think we raised something like $15,000. So, it felt like a good thing. And anytime you can make a difference for something that has affected a lot of people in our lives, that it's something I like to do.
My oldest used to play tournament softball, and every year they had a tournament called Stealing Second Base. Now, mind you, most of these kids had no idea what that reference was in reference to, but it was for breast cancer research. When every year it was and one year I started to say something about it, and the coaches were like, "No, don't explain to them what that means."
Can't tell the kids. This is an adult inside joke.
Right, it's an adult, right?
That's awesome.
Well, my kids knew because I had made the joke before. I'm sure they all ended up that way. You said January, you said March, you got tours coming up. Or is one East Coast, West Coast? Is that why there's a month off in between?
Good question. Actually, the original month off in between was happening because we thought we were going to do our Morocco thing in February.
Okay.
And so when that moved to April, our agent was, not very happy with us. And he was like, well, you're just not going to play shows in February then. So,
So you're going to record.
Yeah.
Use month wisely.
So we had a little pivot there. But yeah, we are doing the first month, January, is kind of more on the East Coast and Southeast. And then March starts in the Midwest and finishes on the West Coast.
Okay.
And we're kind of doing, this is a little bit unusual for us because we're planning some stuff for the summer that will be some bigger shows. So we're playing a lot of secondary and tertiary markets minus really New York, because we're doing 2 nights at the Cap again. But we're hitting a lot of spots that either we haven't played in a long time or places that we have never played. And, just kind of trying to branch out and make sure we keep expanding our fan base and not just playing the same places over and over again. But we're very excited. We've got our first sold out show of that run, which is in a very famous town in North Carolina. You may have heard of it. It's called Saxapahaw. They have this I don't know. It's like an 800 person ballroom there called the Haw River Ballroom, and so it's sold out. They like us there. And we're playing. I'm trying to think of some other interesting spots there. Roanoke,
Penn's Peak. You're doing Penn's Peak again, right?
We're doing Penn's Peak again. So that's always a fan favorite. And I think we're playing there on a Friday night for the first time. That's usually a Sunday for us. Right. We'll play Philly and then hit that on the back end. But we're saving Philly for the summer, so we're hitting Penn's on the Friday this time. Yeah, Wilmington, Delaware, I think is in there. Roanoke, Virginia. What else? We're doing the Starland Ballroom again, which is kind of a, as I like,
Iconic.
a lovable dump.
Yeah, it's an iconic place.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going back to there. So, we're hitting a lot of the regions that we usually hit, but kind of hitting some different towns in those regions.
Right.
And our big Midwest shows this time are going to be back in South Bend, Indiana at the Morris Center, which is the kind of really nice 2,200 person theater there. And then Milwaukee back at the Riverside Theater, which is a perennial indoor favorite for us. Just an absolute gem of a venue, and the staff is some of the best we work with. Their attention to detail is bar none.
That's awesome. And, I have to just say, I live in Denver now, but having lived in areas that would be considered that second, third, fourth tier music market, I call it, a musical desert, because we just wouldn't get any music. The appreciation when bands would come into town, even, somewhat close by, was immense. And so to be going to some of those places, it hits different for people that love what you do, but just maybe don't get a chance to see you that often. And I love that you all are doing that.
Sure. Yeah, that's absolutely it. And I'm a parent with 2 kids now, so I understand how for those of us that are parents out there and going through that, it can be a big challenge just to get out the door.
That is true.
But there is another side.
We'll doing, I think we'll have a bunch of these shows that are webcast as well, is kind of what I was trying to get at. So,
right, Morocco, is that going to be webcast, do you think?
Great question. Great question. I don't know the answer to that.
We have to sell it out first. It's going to be like a home football game. If it sells out, we'll broadcast it.
Right.
Oh, that's fantastic. You got anything else there, Amanda?
I think we covered a bunch. I guess, I just always look to see what y'all are up to. And I think that these Morocco shows are going to be just bountiful for a lot of reasons and really memorable. And I'm just so glad that you're giving that love to other parts of the world. Like you said, it's something different. And it always brings, I think, a really good kind of positive attention to wherever that place is from people that aren't there as well. So thanks for going out that way. I think it's awesome.
You got it. We're looking forward to it just as much.
Fantastic. All right. Well, with that, one more thing. Do we have a release date, or do you have an idea in mind of when the new album may appear?
That's a good question. This first one that we were just working on, the general goal for this was like June, maybe, this summer sometime. And then the album of new music, we're kind of aiming for the top of next year.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So
we will make.
Go ahead.
We'll make sure to throw links down to your website and where people can find your stuff there, and make sure that they buy a T-shirt or a CD, because that's the only way we're keeping the scene alive, I think, is buying T-shirts and albums and CDs.
Yeah, it's crazy just how expensive it's gotten and how hard it is to break even for anybody out there touring now. Right.
So many shows on your tour, and I guess you kind of have to do that if you're going to do it. You got to go all in, and
yeah, no doubt. That's very true, and we appreciate everyone out there who's out there supporting musicians and keeping us doing what we're doing, because we certainly still love doing it.
There you go. All right, and everybody watching, make sure you like, subscribe. Hold on for a second, Joel. And follow us on our socials. We're at All That Jam Pod on all the normal socials. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. We'll see you soon.